And we are live. Welcome, everybody. My name is Trent, aka TD. I'm joined by Stefan and Louie from plasmo.com, the browser extension framework. Gentlemen, happy Thanksgiving. How are you doing today?
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Doing great.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So happy you guys are here. Lots to talk about. You guys built a browser add-on framework, which is amazing. As you all know, I'm actively using it. It's been super helpful. I guess the first question that everybody would have is, where did the name Plasmo come
Oh, that's a good question.
from?
Um, Louis, I kind of came up with it, right? The name.
Yep.
Do you remember where it came from, actually?
So it's a misspelling of plasma, right?
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Okay. I remember because a lot of our product names are actually misspellings of other things. Um, Unfortunately, because of this, like we're starting to see when people go onto our Discord server, they'll type in Plasma, but then autocorrect will autocorrect them to Plasma. So maybe it's not a good strategy. But yeah, I think that's the way we came up with it. And also the other thing was in the beginning of our company, we wanted to just build a lot of stuff. We weren't settled on one particular idea,
Huh?
and Plasmo in Latin means like I mold, like I build things. So that's kind of it started with a mistake, and then it ended up being like we figured out a way to make it sound cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, actually the term plasma in Latin means it also means the workspace, the work table as well. And that's kind of the idea, right? It's actually we working continuously experimenting, working on stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, super cool. I remember way back when I first got into web development, and like the first thing that you want to do is you want to get like secure your domain, or at least that's what you should be doing, right? That's the only thing that's time sensitive, really, in the whole process when you're first starting out. And I remember I did some research on like, well, how do you pick a good domain, and I remember a quote from an article that said there's two options. You either go for like keyword strong, which was like what we kind of did with NFT Gamer, right? Two keywords like go together there, or you go like the Uber or the Google or the Plasmo route, right? Where it's just a word that really it's almost like nonsense, but it establishes a brand identity. So people hear it, nobody knows what the hell an Uber is, but if you say Uber, everybody knows it's ride hail service. So, what up, audience? Everybody, thank you so much for saying hello. Sadisti, Jeff, Alan, I see y'all. All right, where did you guys meet? What's your background? Give me a quick rundown on all of that.
yeah, sure. So we met in college. So we went to college together at RIT a long time ago, and we were doing. Louis got some uh, cooking in the oven.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we met in college. We were the same year, so we took a bunch of classes together and did a ton of hackathons together. And we found that we both work really well together, and we ship things very quickly, and we enjoy building products like all the time. And we just kind of vibe in that way and became roommates, and then just kept like building stuff together. So that's kind of the story there. Yeah, we actually worked on a decentralized project before. It was called Hyperproxy, and we worked on a lot of IPFS projects in the past, like back in 2016 and so.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so we had a lot of cool experience with like decentralized stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually so in our college we had a BTC club, right? It's actually stand for Blockchain Technology Club.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so I almost become kind of a secretary of that club, but then I just hang out with them. To be honest, I didn't do much with them, but I did give a lot of talk. I was a good friend with the president, and then so I gave like kind of one of the few early talk on actually on IPFS how to make kind of an app, right, using IPFS client.
Uh-huh.
And also and regarding like the hyperproxy project that Stefan talked about is actually a way to. So we're creating this proxy using WebRTC
Okay.
and WebSocket to
Yeah.
bridging the connection for a Chrome for any cab browser to access the decentralized network, right? So it's basically kind of an exit node
Right.
for
Right.
for Tor socket, but apply for the DAT protocol. So DAT protocol was an experimental protocol.
So you said the Tor protocol, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, so it's very similar. So we kept applying that concept of the Tor exit node,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
for another protocol called DAT.
Mhm.
And the DAT protocol is somewhat of a very very educational protocol used for
Yeah.
preserving archiving data.
Yeah, it's a
And
decentralized way to archive like scientific data. So we kind of thought let's kind of get Chrome and all these other browsers to be able to talk to other nodes that are desktop clients via the DAT protocol.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
we kind of implemented this. So yeah,
So yeah, I know that I looked through a link that Louis sent me. I think of all of the hackathon. So I've only ever participated in one, and it was like in June. And I was telling Louis it was like the most like stressful and uh, uncomfortable and angering and awesome and fun and it was the best thing ever. Like it's crazy how those that that emotional roller coaster that you're I don't know if it's the same for y'all, but
oh, absolutely.
that's how my
I'll tell
first one
you,
was.
yeah.
I'll tell you,
The-
my first hackathon was it's actually a training right because I couldn't find a team on my first hackathon, but
Mhm.
luckily, so all the people who couldn't find a team during their hackathon just came together and we formed a small little studio of about 18 people team. Can you believe
And that
that?
was probably like the best team, right?
That's a
Because
bad team because it's like
yeah.
the leftover, but everyone can now do whatever they want. But
All
then
the
apparently, so I just pick a task that I kind of want to do.
yeah.
I want to try out doing
That's
it,
who
right?
I would want to work with. I would
Yeah.
yeah, that's who I would want.
And then so because the team was so big, right? We have a project manager too. That's how big it
Nice.
was. And the project
Nice.
manager would have would have his PM. He actually was a PM. He's a PM who was bringing up tooling and then just managing
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you do this, you do that, and I will orchestrate it for you guys. And we have a guy who set up all we actually use SVN, did not use Git at all.
Mhm.
And then actually SVN is Git, right? Am I tripping?
Hey, that's right. The group of misfit toys. You got it.
It is. It
Nice.
was definitely, but it was fun, and we actually won, right? Because the team's so large. We built
Yeah,
like this
right.
climbing game. We built this collaborative climbing game where it's 2-player, and you have 2-player collaboratively climb a game by using a rope and swing the rope. It's like the
Nice.
pendulum game. So you pendulum each other on top until you reach like the summit.
Louis, did they give the prize to all 18 of you?
No, of course not. I mean, that's not really a prize, right? There's no prize. Free food,
Right.
the prize, free food, have fun, and the whole
There you go,
weekend
yeah.
and so on.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So if I were non-technical and I'm watching the stream right now, and I don't even know what a browser add-on is, but then I watch it long enough to understand what it is, and then uh, now I have an idea for something that I would like to add to either. And here I got one. I have this brilliant idea. Right, it's going to be a browser add-on, and whenever you go to like a shopping site, it's going to automatically pull coupons and promo codes or whatever there is. And it's all going to be crowdsourced, and I'm going to name it like Nectar or something like that. How does
Hey, sounds like $1 billion company right there.
Yeah. Sounds like that to me, man.
yeah, tell me how I would go about where do I start first?
Stefan, you
Yeah,
want to
so sure, yeah. Well, you use Plasmo to do that.
Okay.
So
So I should go to the docs maybe?
yeah, so
Okay.
here's Plasmo, and the basic idea around Plasmo is we want to make it so that people focus on building those things that you just talked about, like actually building, injecting coupons into the pages, making sure like that you have like a nice UI to show people when the coupon is added, and so on and so forth. So rather than focusing on all of the configurations and learning how to build a browser extension from scratch, you can simply use Plasma, which is an open source framework, to do
Mhm.
all of that for you, and then you just focus on building your product. Now, we have two different ways to go about building stuff with Plasma. One of them is via TypeScript. The other one is with Zig. I recommend probably going with the TypeScript route just because if you are starting off as like a kind of a more of a non-technical person,
Mhm.
you probably want to look at all the different examples we have in the documentation. All that is in TypeScript. Um, but that's in a nutshell kind of the overview. Um, and then we can maybe talk more about kind of how you would do that with the
Right,
Plasma.
right, right. So I have a quick question. So I wasn't unfamiliar with PNPM, but I did not have it installed prior. So I'm a Yarn user, and I, I favor that. Obviously, that's what I'm used to typing. I feel like I know the difference, but the way that PNPM was explained, I'm like, well, I thought that's what Yarn did. Like, I thought Yarn cached everything and used the saved copy, and that's why I liked it, and that's why I used it. But, what I guess for, like, the mid-technical people, what's the difference between these 3 here? PNPM, Yarn, and NPM in, like, 2 sentences?
Oh, 2 sentences is hard. Uh, yeah, but I'll tell you that
Go,
PNPM
go,
was
go.
much more optimized compared to Yarn. So Yarn development
Okay,
is somewhat stagnant when they try to push toward Berry, which is Yarn v2. So,
okay.
and the one thing is Yarn has this huge drop in kind of adoption when they start to deviate from kind of supporting every single tooling when it comes to
Right.
Yarn v2. So a lot of the optimization that you heard of doesn't exist on Yarn v1 at all. It only exists on Yarn v2, but it breaks a lot of tooling. That's why
Wow.
nobody. So that's why the Yarn you use right now is still Yarn Classic. NPM
Is
actually
it?
solved all of that because they actually use a single content addressable store, and so because of that, all the optimization that was promised in Yarn actually work in PNPM, and it actually worked on the get go from the very long time ago actually, before people even know that PNPM was a thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, Yarn was very famous because it was used internally by Facebook, right, and also by the guy who make Rome, which is like the new bundler is still around. But yeah,
Interesting. I didn't know that. I forget where I picked it up at. I don't. You might have convinced me. I might have to go. Yeah, yeah. TD's
yeah,
mind did
like
just
I
get
mean, I used
blown.
to use
You
Yarn by
might
the
have
way.
convinced me. I might start forcing myself to start typing that every time.
Yeah, the one thing is, so I used to use Yarn as well back in 2018, right? And I noticed if your project has
Mhm.
about, for example, the Plasmo project that you saw, right, the open source
Yeah.
project. If you click on GitHub and you look at the source code, it has 63 module. Yarn would crawl with that. Yarn would literally crawl with about. It probably would install the whole project in about maybe. I'll give it. I'll be generous with it. I give it about 3 to 5 minutes to install everything. But with PNPM, because of the log file and the reconciliation strategy is very good, and also it has very good support for workspace as well. That oh yeah, not Plasmo test, but I recommend go to the Plasmo main project, right? It has about 63 project.
Oh, right, 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 right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was the wrong one.
Yeah, yeah,
This
don't
is the
worry.
examples one, right?
Yeah, no. So
Yeah.
this
So
is
just take this here, and if I were to, is this what you're saying here?
yeah, precisely, yeah. So this is a mono repo, right? That
Yeah.
contain about 63 module, and yeah. Oh, you want to try it out right now?
Yeah. Let's check it out.
Okay. By the
Do
way,
you want to
so
do your?
wait. So to clone, you have to. So I would recommend visit the contribution guide first. So there's a specific command to clone.
Yeah,
So
it's a mono repo, so there's some extra steps. It's not
so
just
Ah,
.github. So click on .github. There's a
uh,
.github folder.
it's a folder called .github. It's on the top.
yeah. I think right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then contributing guy.
This one here, the MD,
Yep.
or yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can.
Interesting.
Okay.
All
So
right.
git clone. Okay. There's an owner, right? So you have
Yeah, I think I already
to.
forked it, didn't I? Or
Yeah. If
no?
you fork it already, then use your fork, right?
No, I don't think I did. Hold on, let me double check. I did not.
All right.
All right, now I'm forked though, right? Now we're
Yeah.
good.
You're good. Now click on the GitHub, and so the key idea is that we using Git sub module. So you have
Okay.
to clone with the sub module flag.
Now, didn't I just see something new that you guys released that had to do with GitHub and oh, I need to put something in here.
Oh, so the
I need to put my
org.
name here. Yeah. This is you or this is me, right?
Yeah, it has to be yours.
Oh shit. So you're saying that this is I wish I think I have a timer somewhere. I think it's too late on the timer, but I definitely have one around here somewhere.
I mean, we don't. You don't have to time the Git, right? This is just Git cloning, so we don't have
Okay.
to worry about that. But now
Gotcha.
now you can time. Now we can suddenly time, and also PNPM has a timer too, so you can try that.
Yeah, old Mankey. That's what I'm talking about. So now should I go ahead and install here?
Yeah.
Yarn
So
install?
CD inside.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah, the CD into it.
Yeah, and then we don't use we don't use a yarn log file.
Oh, that's right. You told me that.
Yeah. So
The bold magic says Yarn, NPM, and PNPM all work on PC and Mac.
yeah, it should. PC, Mac, Windows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Lewis uses Windows and I use Mac, and we develop just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the one cool thing about the downloading process we've seen here is that PNPM is developed and also is optimized by a team at StackBlitz. So StackBlitz is a new company that's very focusing on WebAssembly container for the web. They actually make a project called Web Container that is a stripped down kind of browser for the browser, a stripped down browser for the browser. You can now actually basically render. It's actually render the entire browser inside the browser for development processes. And so what happened is that because of that, they actually host a specialized CDN and work with PNPM. See that? So it's done in 47 seconds.
Yeah, and
And what? So so we couldn't test that with Yarn or NPM, but just to give it some perspective, what would we be looking at? Like a 10x on that, 50x, 100x?
Yeah, I would say about 10x. I can imagine if I think about Yarn back in the day, and if I have this many sub modules. So if you scroll up, you can see that we have about 63 sub modules that it tell somewhere at the very beginning. It will tell us that there are 63 something sub module, or 63 workspace projects.
Yeah.
And like I was working on a Yarn project back in a robotic startup.
Yeah.
We have about maybe 15 sub project. And
it's pretty crazy. You guys went. It's very robust. Kudos to you guys for all of the examples that are in here. Let me show those really quickly to everybody. In fact, as a user, I would say that it's so robust that like it's like almost to its detriment, because you're like you have all this stuff. How come you don't have remix? Like you know what I mean? Or like you have everything. Why don't you have blah blah blah? And I know the answer to that, and it's because it would be impossible to have everything. But yeah, this is pretty amazing. Most of these I know. I think there's a few that I've never heard of. I think Ant is a CSS framework, right?
Entity. It's actually not CSS anymore, by the way. They have switched over to CSS in JS, so it's like style component basically. Yes, it's they transitioning in V5 of Ant design. They move everything into become like emotion basically.
Yeah, I think 20% of our GitHub stars are actually people in China. I think browser extensions are huge in China, which is kind of interesting to think about. I never really knew about that until we saw that happen. And in the early days of Plasmo, like back in what was it, like June, we got so many GitHub issues like please support Ant Design, because Ant Design is a Chinese sort of I think it's from Alibaba, right, Lewis?
I think I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's from Alibaba. So
Besides the Alibaba or one of the
yeah, one of the big Chinese companies. So all these Chinese developers were sending issues,
Right.
and so we were like, okay, let's get an example. So that's why we have that one there.
Yeah.
Right. So some of these, so the width is indicative that so it's your framework and it's pre-built to work with the declared uh whatever is after with on most of them. Some of them are just like with background and with content script. So that are the core functionalities of most extensions, right? Am
Yep.
I okay? Um, what are those the core? I guess. I mean, I guess I know this. I shouldn't be asking silly questions. So we're looking
Oh,
at background,
totally.
content, options, maybe, right? New tab is kind of optional, right? You don't always have to have new tab,
Yep.
which that just literally opens up a new tab, correct?
So the new tab actually would replace the new tab, right, on your default new tab page.
Oh,
Yeah. So so when you open a new tab, so this
like
is
right here?
this is what we call the new tab page. You can replace this whole thing, and so now imagine you can actually have a game, right, that always run every time you open a new tab.
What?
That's actually on my browser, one of my browser. I'm
So I
working
don't
on.
have to look at this shit anymore.
Yeah,
I just
precisely. You can make your own search engine. You can make your own search engine. You
oh,
can
dude,
actually
that's so
plug it in
getting
your own
done.
server thingy.
I did not know that. I thought it was literally just adding that's crazy.
Yeah.
And the way to do it in Plasmo is you create a file called newtab.tsx,
Yeah.
export a React component, and then it's just gonna get rendered there automatically.
Oh, now I need to think about what I'm gonna what
Yeah, the
what ain't
possibilities are
gonna be
endless,
this
right?
shit. Um
Yeah,
awesome.
I can also stream my screen to show that what I have
Yeah,
on
yeah,
my. Let me just.
yeah. Let's see it. So I know in the Discord there was a conversation or thread going on about remix. Um there you go, you should have it.
Awesome. So, sorry. So here's my Chrome browser that has the extension on. And if I go to a new tab, and I enable it.
Oh, you gotta turn it. Yeah,
So every time I go
yeah,
to a new tab, I have this little game
yeah.
here that I can play.
I love it.
You
I
can also
love
increase
it.
the speed of this cube too. Yeah, so it's kind of the beginning
Dude.
of a game.
Yeah, dude, I love it. How cool is that? Oh, I did not know that. I'm so happy to know that.
Awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, one of the things we were thinking about is also making a game within the Chrome search bar.
Well, right, yeah. So y'all know the dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if our audience knows that. Can I? How do I turn this off? How do I? Y'all remember how I disable? I know that it's in. I think it's
So click
application, maybe.
on.
I just want to turn the networking off for this tab. I thought it was under network, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, what do you mean by turning it off?
Yeah, I want to just disconnect the internet on this particular.
So you can go to get to the thing, you can do Chrome like in the search
Oh,
bar. Yeah, it's really cool. So you can do Chrome / Dino, DINO.
look at
So if
climbing
you ever
moon,
want to
dude.
play it, you can just go to that
What
URL.
a hero he is. This is one of our more technical community members. So happy to see climbing moon here. Yeah, dude. So if you don't have internet, like if you've ever seen this little dinosaur before, that's what he does. It's kind of hard. Let's see. Ah, shit. I was too early. Oh, come on, Dino. How did I do? 178? Those are some good numbers.
Yeah.
Shout out Climbing Moon. Thank you so much, dude. All right, so we're looking at the examples. So now, if like let's say like I just learned Next.js and which I'm a huge fan of. I would go here. I would click on here, and then so I have to download. Actually, now that I click through this, I remember that you actually have to pull down the entire example. Like, there's no way for me to just pull down just with Next.js.
You can. So Plasmo
No.
ship with the CLI, right? So what you can do, you can use Plasmo create dash dash
Oh,
with.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I
Oh,
have
I
that.
recommend. So yeah, we'll go to another repo, right? I will go to
Yeah,
another place. Right now, you're inside the Plasmo
yeah,
project. I would create an empty space. So the idea with the example are actually not like the example, just demonstration of how you can use Plasmo with third-party tools, actually, right? Or like, it's basically how you would use some of the other tooling and integrate them with Plasmo and together with other of the Plasmo concept. So Plasmo init actually, so you would do Plasmo init or
yeah.
you
So this
do.
doesn't. Yeah, I think that this isn't Why is my bash not interactive? I don't know the answer to that.
Oh, interesting.
I have to use the terminal because it's going to ask me questions and stuff, right?
So it should though. Wait, yeah. So by the way, so that Plasma init you have to pass in the flag right before.
Oh,
So Control C, so Control C to exit. So do Plasma init and then yeah with Next.js. So
like
dash
the double
dash
double. Yeah.
double dash
Okay.
dash with Next.js, yeah, and
And
that
I
should
can
be.
name this here, or
You
no?
can name
Yeah,
it right now. Yeah, you can name it as well. Like you can name it right there as well.
yeah. That's what I thought. All right. So this is. I don't know if they can see this. Let me see if I can't make this bigger. There we go. So it's going to go through its thing.
Yeah. So when you do Plasmo init, it will actually use the Plasmo version internally that you just clone.
Mhm.
So right now your internal clone is at the 0.56.0, but we have updated. So I think it's about 3 minor version behind. Yeah.
Yeah. So am I ready to go now?
You should be ready to go, yeah.
Okay. And uh, yeah. Do I have a build folder? I do not. Right. So then I want to
PMPM bill. Yeah.
build. Right. Yeah. There we go. And that's going to build a. What is it called again? Uh, don't these packages have a name? These Chrome extensions,
We call
CRX or
them we call them a bundle. It's not yeah. So a CRX is actually a signed bundle, right?
okay.
So a CRX is a bundle that has been signed with a private key.
Oh, right, by Google, right?
Yeah, either by Google or by a vendor, right? So if you submit to, so we also have a web store called eToro. So eToro is a web store focused mainly on developer. It's like test. It's a staging environment for browser extension. So if you use our store, uh, we will sign like the package for you as well. Yeah, this should be the right folder, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I just was one folder too high. All right, and so there's my extension. I come over here and pin it. I should see it. Boom! Look at that.
Yeah,
Nice.
this extension, the Next.js extension, show how you would use Next.js in kind of like together with Plasmo, but in a sense that Next.js would be your web application and
Right, right, right.
your server side, right? So WebJS, Next.js, WebJS. Oh, right. Anyway, Next.js is a framework for
Right,
web app development, right? It has the server side, it has server component as well. So it has an API.
right.
Yeah, so it provides a way to make API route using the file system, and also a way for you to creating like page, right, and like front end pages. And Platform actually borrow a lot of that philosophy into the framework, but we
Okay.
apply
Yeah,
that for
yeah.
extension, right? And so instead of having to creating this whole configuration to make a pops up file, you just make a popup.txec and you have your pops up ready and go to go.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
And so the
Yeah.
idea of this example is now you can share your code between your Next.js project and your Plasma project through these entry file. So the entry file would be a very lightweight uh, kind of entry file
Okay.
that, and then you would consume the UI and also certain CAD provider container. into your extension, and that can be very, very powerful. And you can imagine
Right.
applying this to also adding Expo, for example. Expo is another framework, but for native app, for mobile native app.
Okay.
And Expo also recently introduced something similar with like with file system based routing. So
What
everyone
is
is
it? Expo
yeah
JS
Expo
or
yeah it just Expo, I think Expo dev
interesting?
yeah. And Expo has the same kind of um,
Huh.
yeah
Yeah, I think we share a similar principle, which is when you're building an extension with Plasmo, you're not building a Chrome extension, you're not building a Firefox extension, you're building a Plasmo extension,
Right.
and then
Right.
you have to build, you can set dash dash target equals Firefox equals Chrome, and Plasmo will actually take your code and then bundle it to be for Chrome, be for Firefox, for Edge, whatever.
Which is
That's kind of
amazing. That is
what was that?
absolutely amazing. I would have so I've published extensions. I've worked with them. I would have never ever even bothered with like Edge or Safari because I don't like either of them, and it's all about me as the dev. So I would have just stuck with. But it's a terrible attitude to have, right? But I feel like I'm not the only person that would kind of cut resource, like spare resources, so to speak, and
yeah.
only
Well, I'll
develop.
say that right. It's really about so Chrome and Firefox is the early player. That's why
Right,
and
right, 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 right.
and there's a lot of user on those kind of browsers. So of course you would right Safari right. We don't even know if there's an extension on Safari. The thing is that
Right.
though, I would say Edge has there's a missed potential, which is Edge. A lot of company in so I used to live in Washington, and a
Uh-huh.
lot of company in Washington are forced to use Edge. I kid you not. And a lot of those, so now they miss out on cannot use extension, or they have to use it illegally. Basically, they have to use Chrome,
Right, 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 right.
and which kind of violating their some of their kind of security practice, I guess, because assuming that if their kind of a machine is managed
Mhm.
by one of the IT team, right, then they're not allowed to use external kind of software like in a browser, right? So, yeah, but a lot of company I know use Edge. I force people to use Edge.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so I have a question looking at this here, and kind of touched on it a little bit so far. But all right, let's say I'm a back end developer and I'm watching this,
yeah,
and like I have somewhat of a familiarity because I have to because I'm a back end dev with how front end works. But like I still have an idea for a browser extension, and I'm ready to dive in there and put all of my server knowledge and code to work. How am I going to fare? Like what are some of the like big points that I would have to be aware of working in the browser extension environment?
yeah. So one of the key thing is that when you do any resource fetching, so I would assume that when you're backend dev, you would have a server, right? You creating an API server, right? And
Right.
it's likely going to be either a RESTful server or WebSocket server or some kind of
Can I put it in this folder? Like, can I build
okay.
a full stack app right here? I
Yes,
guess
you
is
can.
kind of
You
what
can
I'm
still.
going.
You can definitely yes. So that's where Next.js is, right? You can
Yeah.
add so inside page you can add a precise API route, and you can add like an index dot
Yeah.
JS or
Oh,
index
that's right.
TX TX kind of a oh it should be TX by the way, it should not be TXX.
Is TS only?
TS only, yeah.
Yeah, it's my first day with the TypeScript. Y'all are the ones that finally pushed me over the edge, by the way. Like I was fighting and fighting, like I was not gonna take it seriously until I was in the clear and had time to sit through an entire tutorial. But now I'm just suffering through learning TypeScript.
So the awesome thing about TypeScript in the long run though is refactoring. You would thank it. You would thank it. For example, if you have a project, if you ever so I used to have an Angular project, Angular.js project back in like 2013 actually, with a file that has 1,000 lines of code, right? And when you don't have a typing system, like even Flow is already a kind of somewhat of a blessing, right? But when you have nothing, refactoring is like you look up name, you look up the name of each individual kind of identifier and rename them based on their context. Yeah, so it's just insanely hard to do a refactor of your code.
Yeah, I'd say in my Copilot is out. Have you guys seen Copilot?
Yeah.
I
Pretty
love
awesome.
I love Copilot. I'm also terrified of it.
Yeah. It's gonna
It's gonna
when
take
they
the
warn you
job.
about stealing your jobs, like this is what they were talking about. Like,
Exactly. And now, recently, it like they're going to release GPT-4, and that's gonna be insane. I'm really excited about that. Apparently, it's like GPT-3 was the previous model, and it was at 175 billion parameters, and
what?
GPT-4 is going to be 100 trillion parameters, which is insane. And
Yeah, that is.
like that's, I think that that is where we're going to start seeing really cool stuff. I'm really excited about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know why this is acting like.
So it seems like you have to sign up. You have
Yeah,
to.
I am, and it's acting like it, and then it's not giving me an option to pay. This is annoying.
But by the way, the easier example to take a look at in terms of API route is actually Stripe. So in the with Stripe example, we
Okay,
actually
cool. Yeah, we'll go to it.
yeah, I would recommend just take a look at the source code and we can walk through it. So we don't have to worry too much about running
Yeah,
the code.
cool. All right. Let me.
So in the with Stripe example, we use a Next.js API route to do the subscription verification for the user. So this is one thing that a lot of people would want to have in the extension, right? Is a way for get payment from the user. The problem is that if you use a payment provider, especially a hosted payment provider like Stripe, uh, there's a concept called PCI compliant, in which it require all the resource that the vendor consume has to come from the host of the payment process, the payment processor. In this case, if you try to accessing any of a Stripe kind of a payment page or payment API, actually,
Yeah,
you have
try
to use it from.
init again. I have to do init again, or I can't put it in the same one.
You have to go up. You go up a level and do Plasma init. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to make a new. I'll just make a new directory. I guess I'm kind of getting lost in where I'm at with.
We can also
Alright.
we can also just look at the GitHub source code.
Yeah, I might want to do that instead. Here, let's do that.
Yeah, I think soon you'll have more Plasma projects on your computer than we do with all the stuff you're in it.
Yo, I'm not even fronting. I cleaned up my desktop because I was worried that I might share it and you would see it, and I would be like, or anybody would see it. My desktop was terrible. I didn't really clean it up. I just like I was a kid. I stuffed out everything under my bed. I just made a folder and put everything in there. Sort that out later, and later never comes. But yeah, it's funny you say that. That's exactly what I did.
Yeah, I think I have PTSD with my mom's desktop actually. Yeah, so that's why very early on I have this philosophy of if I'm not gonna if I have anything on my machine, it has to be stored in a certain place. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you saw the room I was in right now, like behind me's neat and tidy, and that's it. That's the only spot that
That's the only place that matters. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm in Pages API, right? So
Yeah.
for anybody who's not familiar with Next.js, it's amazing. I highly suggest it, especially for Web3 and more specifically for like Wax or EOSIO projects. It was introduced to me by a smart contract full stack dev, Pigwig, the Green Rabbit smart contract dev. And so thankful that he introduced me to it because it's been amazing ever since. They just released version 13, which has got all kinds of new fun stuff to play with. So yeah, shout out for Cell and Next.js.
So if you go to Chick subscription is one of the API route, right? So every file that doesn't have a underscore will become an API route. So
Let me look at this again.
so the underscore common is a way for us to share logic between the two route.
What? So this I can't. Oh shit! So I can't go to API. No
No.
way. What? That's amazing. I love it. And that's the default of Next.js, and I know that because of the underscore app and document. I just never thought it worked anywhere else. That's amazing. All right, so check subscription is an API route.
Yep.
Shout out Yaroslav. Thanks for the follow. And so we have our route handler. Where is this coming from? No, I can't click and go to it.
Oh, you can.
So this is just making sure that the user logged in. I'm guessing, right?
Precisely,
And
yes.
this is the one that's going to do all of the work, right? The get subscription.
Yep, and it's all come from common. So the common kind of file contain all of the code to do like checking if the user is signed in, check the it check the authorization, right, to make sure that it's valid, and then it use Stripe to verify they have a subscription on file.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. And the reason, and you have to do this way, otherwise, you would not be Stripe compliant. So Stripe,
Right.
So there's a certification called PCI. So, and it means that you have to use Stripe from Stripe host.
PCI is data privacy, right?
It's more of a banking kind of it's a
Yeah.
banking agreement actually.
Yeah, banking like data kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, banking standard. Yeah.
Yeah. The tricky thing that we ran into was, with Manifest version 3, so that's a new version.
Right.
You can't load code remotely. So your
Yeah.
extension can go to Stripe and say, hey, give me the most updated bundle and I'll render it on my client. So we had to come up with this other way of doing Stripe. So that's kind of what this is showing. But it's really like, this is a great example where if you're a backend developer to integrate with Next.js, if you want to add an API route, you just add a file in here and that's it. And
Right.
with Next.js all in symbiosis. It's really cool.
Yeah. So the remote code thing, actually, all of MV3 screwed me up. I don't know if I told this story to you, but before that hackathon, working on a Chrome extension, I had built one before MV2. Never looked at MV3. Figured, how different could it be? Going into the hackathon, no experience with MV3 at all. So just talk about pressure, and how different and how critical some of those pieces are. The no remote code one is one that I found to be particularly hampering and like my ambitions and what I wanted to do. You guys came up with some like super ingenious ways of working around that. One of them was the iframe solution, right?
Yeah, so you can with an iframe, you can actually load a remote iframe, and that's okay.
Yeah, isn't that in here somewhere? I thought, or no?
I don't think we have a remote iframe
Yeah,
example.
you're probably right. I did
But
get it to work though, and it was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and the interesting thing is though, Google is a little bit, what's the right word?
Control
Inconsistent.
freaky. Okay, oh, good.
Sure, but also inconsistent because what they've done that I've found, if you upload an extension, so typically if you do script source equals and then a remote URL, that's not allowed because that means that you're pulling code and running it locally, right? Okay, but if you do it with Google Analytics, totally fine. Google will let you do it. So if it's their service, like Google Analytics, totally fine to do that, but they're selective.
What about their cloud services, or do you know if that would still, like, it probably wouldn't allow her, or would it? Like, because I know that they have like a whole cloud function. They have Firebase and all of that.
Yeah. Actually, the funny thing is Firebase. Yeah, actually, Firebase is one of the key kind of one of the key component that Google allow you to use to wake up an extension that's been idle for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Firebase
has pub sub, or their pub sub, the Firebase.
So yeah, the Firebase FCM. So
Okay,
it's a
FCM. Yeah, yeah.
messaging component of Firebase,
Interesting.
and
Yeah.
it's one of the few things that actually. So it used to be called GCM, right? Google Cloud Messaging, and they migrated that to FCM for Firebase, and that is the only mechanism that Chrome browser allow an extension or an external API to call the browser. So your browser actually have a service worker. It has like a background process running all the time that listening to certain services, and Google Cloud Firebase messaging is one of them, and they're the only services that's allowed that's kind of whitelisted by the browser to send a message to your extension to wake them up.
So when you say wake it up, so that was another big change between V2 and V3 is
Precisely.
before we had background scripts that we could write in JavaScript to just do whatever they needed to
Hmm.
do. And then they moved to service workers
Yep.
now, which I kind of understand, but not fully the concept behind service workers. And we don't necessarily need to go into it, but it's a pretty big change, right? Like for
Let's talk about the pros and cons, right? So let's talk about the cons first. The bad news is that the service worker that Chrome provide developer for the new extension model, right? It died. It's actually not the same as a regular service worker on a web page. Actually, it's actually the V1 of the service worker model. But because actually Chrome was prototyping the service worker inside extension API before they actually moved that to the whole web. So this idea of the service worker
right.
was first created for extension, and then they generalizing it for the web.
Right. And I know that Create React app moved to adding it by
Yeah,
default.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
think
they
Next.js does also now. I know it clogs up my console and I don't like it.
Yeah, service worker is basically a background process that can run, right? So what on a normal web page, it doesn't die. It only die when you leave the web page, right? So the normal service actually no, a service worker can actually live indefinitely, even if your website is closed. And that's how a website can actually send you notification, and that's why you get all of this freaking annoying like web page that just keep saying, "Hey, do you like a notification?"
Yeah, so they have to register with your it looks like they're in my uh app data folder, right?
Yeah, so this is essential. So right here, you have a registry of all the
Mhm.
kind of service worker that's being most of them probably idle. Most of them must
Right, right,
probably
right.
stop idle. But the one that's active will likely be waiting
Right.
for waiting on
Interaction from
serving.
me to do something or I'm sorry, I cut you off. You were about to answer and I asked the question. What is it waiting for? What wakes it up?
Yeah, so it wait for so there's a protocol for each of these microservice worker to listen to.
Mhm.
It will likely listen to some kind of services.
Mm.
And so web notification. So this is when web notification has their kind of idea of how do we send a signal to some of these
Okay.
background service worker. And this background service worker can be think of as like a mini server, a mini server inside your browser
Right.
that can actually listening to something.
That's awesome.
And then when you calling an API from the service worker, they have no origin actually. As it actually calling from the
Oh,
browser itself. It has no origin. It does not
so no
associate itself.
cores errors then, right?
Yeah,
God, I
precisely.
hate
Meaning
cores.
meaning meaning you will not have the course problem.
Yeah, that's like the bane of my another reason why I hate backend stuff because no matter what I try to do to solve it, like I still get a cores error and I
Yeah.
have a fit over it. That's amazing. I'm glad I know that now. I'm gonna start using service workers more often.
Yeah. So now so the cons, right? The cons of the service worker on Chrome because it's a V1 and also like they
Yeah,
restrict
yeah.
a lot. They kill your service worker after about 5 minutes of not doing anything.
Okay, so idle if it doesn't get a poke or an event doesn't fire, whatever it's listening for, if that doesn't happen in 5 minutes, goes to sleep. And I think you can see that somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have them here or if you have service workers. I think it'll tell you if they're sleeping or inactive. I don't
So
know
they're
why.
inactive, and you cannot actually wake them up unless you open the pops up or one of the extension page.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. One, we've heard a lot of folks complaining about this because there are so many use cases where you actually want to wake the service worker up outside of the context of the browser.
Right.
Like, let's say we're doing the live reloading on Plasma. We want to be able to live reload your extension, but if you don't have the pop-up open or any of the pages open, we actually can send an event over. And the only way to do this is via Firebase Cloud Messaging, which we just talked about. But it's a Google product, so it's interesting how they locked everything in.
Yeah. So
Well,
let me ask you this though. So you're saying if I had a like one-off issue where I needed to wake my service worker and there's no way to do it, this is an option. Is this a free option? Up to I would imagine up to a like a freemium model. I would imagine, right?
It's I think it's a freemium model, yeah.
yeah.
And
we
I think the limits are pretty generous. So
yeah,
They
because
tip
they
you.
actually it tap into they're just sending it to a browser, right? So it's pretty much free for them in a sense. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think in the future, the Plasma framework, we want to actually abstract this whole thing away, so that you don't
yeah,
even have to worry
that'll
about
be sick. Yeah.
you don't even have to worry about like this whole kind of hey, I have to set up an
Huh.
FCM project and
Huh.
calling this API to do all this jazz. Yeah.
So I could theoretically get my I could get it to work at no cost, and if it got to the point where it was scaling too much, I should by that time at least have some sort of um, monetary profit model put in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a blog post that like talks all about how to set it up and everything, starting from the ground up, which it's like I thought this was very valuable because there was literally nothing on the internet, and that's one thing that we found also about extension development. It's so rare to see like things
Oh,
being
dude, yeah,
documented. Um,
yeah.
I was always wondering why, and a friend of mine told me like there's this like big extension company that you might know. I won't name any names, but they have an entire like boot camp dedicated. It's like the first month or two in the company. You learn everything you want to know about extensions. They have an entire
I
catalog
don't
of it.
know who you're talking about. I have to Google this now. Oh, you have to tell
Yeah,
me online. I don't know
yeah,
who.
it's incredible, and but they keep it all to themselves because it's a huge moat. Like they don't want other
Right,
people
right,
to.
right, right, right.
So we want to be the company that actually like makes everything open and shows the whole
Yeah,
world how to do
I
this.
hate that mentality, dude. That's
Yeah,
literally why, like, I wanted to start doing these streams because of all the people that like to be leading this charge. Like, it shouldn't be like I don't have the expertise or the skill set to be, leading a dev stream, but I can find people, and at least if we're getting something out there and bringing to the community, like, hey, like it's okay to not know, and um, uh, we're going to share info. I hate that like tightly guarded. Um, this is my knowledge, and I'm not sharing. And it was very much like that when I got into Wax. Um,
Yeah, it's a funny thing. It's actually because it's actually one of the philosophy of open source. The original open source, right? Is you open the source, and
right, right, right,
you support them. You let people contract you out for support.
right, right, right.
So the
Yeah,
so the secret is like your mode, basically. The secret of how the knowledge work. Sure, you can read the code, but if you actually want to understand what the code I write did, just ask me and pay me. That's what.
right, 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 right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I want to talk about why, and then you know what? Maybe we can. Let me fire up. Hey, have you guys ever seen Crittercraft? I don't think you have. But it reminded me very much of like one of the games that you sent me that you made the maggot game. Uh, so this is a game that we play. So if you're not familiar with it, audience who might have came over from Plasmo, uh, you kind of need a Wax wallet, but don't worry about it. Just put some identifying, uh, like your Discord name, Twitter handle, something. So if you win, we'll figure out how to reward you. I don't know. I feel like kind of going big because this is like a super special stream, at least for me. So What do you say? I think we still have some more ledgers to give away, and it's super important to protect your. Here, I got to stop this for a second. Your crypto with a hardware cold wallet. So let's play for a Ledger Nano. Sound good?
Mm, sounds like.
Cool. And while this is going, we can continue. I want to talk to you guys about what your framework offers that the other ones or nobody else. Uh, yeah, Ledger Nano.
Yeah, the big thing with the framework is it's not just a template, but a product. So I think that is what gets a lot of people excited because you know that it's going to be maintained and there's going to be a lot of kind of support for it, and we are able to do things that a typical template wouldn't be able to do. And
Yeah,
we
like
are.
it's not
Go
like a
ahead, Lou.
dumb it's not a dumb template. It's actually so the Plasma framework is not like it's not just a dumb template. It's actually a program that it's a compiler. It's a compiler that
Right,
focuses
right, right.
strictly. It's a compiler for a web extension for browser extension. It is not just a setup. That's why we have all the entry file and almost no configuration at all. If for the basic cases, so that it just compile everything for you for most of the for like I would say 60% of the cases
Right, right, right.
for extension. Yeah, so it is a compiler, a bundler, and also a resolver. A resolver means that for example, if you go to import resolution.
Yeah. So we have the 12. I have an extension with 100,000 users, but didn't monetize it because it's either to inject third-party data collecting script or somehow integrate a freemium model. In which case, I need PayPal, as Stripe isn't available in my country. Interesting. I would say get with the Plasmo guys because they probably know how to solve your issue. I would bet money on it.
Yeah, AV actually on our server, by the way. AV actually on our Plasma server.
Okay.
He
Yeah,
transition.
one of the first people on there.
Nice.
Yeah, he's transitioning some of his smaller extension over to Plasma, and he's actually a huge proponent of Svelte
Of
with
what?
Plasma. Svelte. So Svelte
Oh,
is
Svelte. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Svelte.
yeah. Yeah, that's one I never got into. I almost did, but I didn't. And I don't know. I mean, obviously, y'all know Svelte. I would guess, right?
I don't know it at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm a React guy. I wanted Plasma always to be the React browser extension framework,
Uh
uh, but then a lot of people were like, "Oh, Vue, Svelte, and stuff." It's like, okay, like
huh.
well, yeah.
All right, so it's very hard to make money off of extensions, thus there aren't. So I I didn't know that. I did know that Google doesn't like they cut their premium. Like you used to be able to. It was like the App Store almost, right? Like you could develop an extension and put a price tag on it, right? But then they stopped doing that, or they stopped allowing that.
Yeah,
What
Chrome.
was the reasoning for that?
So Chrome used to have also an API for payment too, a payment API built into the extension, and then they stopped doing that. And my suspicion is that they I think Chrome want to keep extension as small and lean like a toy, so that they can easily steal idea. So if your extension is small and little, right, and it doesn't have a lot, they can
Mhm.
easily if your extension has a lot of feature, they can simply just copy that and put that into the browser itself because it's too small. It's so small.
Yeah. Um, and what was the other thing that I knew that? That's a good point, Avi. I didn't know that. I don't think that affects me at all. Or at least with what I'm trying to build. Um, yeah, I guess even if it did, I would try to figure out a way around it. I'm not a good rules follower at times. And you know what? That's a good point, Stefan. Tell me, or would you mind repeat? I know that I've asked you on our last call. I had some concerns about how your auto publish to the major web stores works. I sent over a blog post that outlined like the technical process behind all of it, and the concern that I had was um, what happens if Google or whoever doesn't like this, and your answer was amazing. So, would you mind sharing again?
Yeah, so the big picture view is we have this thing called Itero, which is our platform that lets you beta test your browser extension. And we, one of the things is like now that we have a web store, how are these browsers going to react to us having the web store? And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, the web store is focused on beta testers rather than general users. So this is no different. And here's the web store. It's no different than a company with, let's say, like I have a company and my IT department has created an extension for the company, right? Like it's an internal extension. Maybe it tells you when Taco Tuesday is happening or something like that on the new tab
Yeah,
page, right, for your team.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
Chrome, like for those kinds of extensions, right? You don't want to use the Chrome Web Store. It doesn't make sense. You would want to use your own company's web store. So
Mhm.
Chrome lets you do this. And the idea is we're utilizing this feature, but for beta testing. So we're giving you an internal beta testing web store. And because it is a feature that is used in the enterprise, it's highly unlikely that Google will ever kind of shut this down just because so many different companies um, are reliant on this. And I take inspiration kind of from back, we were talking in the beginning of the call.
Huh?
Lewis and I did a lot of work with like IPFS and so on. And
Yeah.
I worked a lot on um,
Anti-censorship, I think it was, right?
yeah, censorship resistance and like Tor pluggable
Yeah,
transports and stuff. And the
that's
the big takeaway that I learned from this, and I have a blog post on it, is the best form of censorship resistance is one that's economic. So when the censor when the cost of censorship is too high, the censor won't apply the censorship, right? So like in Russia's case, right, they wanted to block like Telegram, but now they would have to block all of AWS, and that's like so unrealistic. That's kind of one example, and there's so many other examples of this kind of stuff happening where because a service is being used so widely by the general economy, it's impossible for the censor to actually perform their censorship. And in the same way, here we have a web store that we're using the enterprise feature. And because this feature is used by so many different companies, like like literally Facebook, you can think of literally any company that you can name that's like a big company, even small
uh-huh.
companies use the feature. There's no way that Chrome's going to pull this. So that's
Well,
why
yeah, I
we
mean,
pretty,
enterprises, that's their bread and butter. That's how they eat, man.
yeah. Well, if they pull this, like enterprises are going to move to other browsers for sure, and they don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Wapaka. Yeah, and I posted kind of there while Stefan was talking to enter the so we're giving away the Ledger Nano to just bring awareness and attention to this mess that we have on our hands in the crypto world. Um, you should have I'm not even using a cold wallet, so I have a lot of nerve telling you guys that you should be using one, but we all should be using better tools, resources, whatever it is to protect our assets. And so on that note, we are giving away a Ledger Nano, but I want you, like you guys are gonna have to work for this one. I'm sorry. Y'all have to follow Plasmo on Twitch. Let's start there because we got to get them up over that hump where you can get subscriptions and follows and all of that. I don't know what the specific metrics are, but we're gonna get them there. So that's not even that's ours. God damn it, my
Maybe.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we appreciate. Or also, you can also start. You can start a repo, the GitHub repo.
yeah. Right here.
Click. I would recommend just go to GitHub. GitHub. GitHub.com/plasmahq/plasma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
we had 4.6K star right now. You click on the star button and on the top right,
start.
yeah, stars.
I got to go in here.
For
Oh no
following.
shit! What is this? The list things.
Yeah, you can actually add it to a specific list of stuff that you follow, all your stars.
Yeah, if you find like a
Oh.
cool repo, you're like, oh, that's maybe inspiration for a cool project or something.
So I can add this. Can I add Plasmo to all of this?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think so.
so I see what you were saying. You guys are. Oh, I need to tell these guys to do this too. That's what. What? That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you're saying.
I
Yeah,
recommend.
yeah. If you have a GitHub, go star and follow this. And if you can, I would ask you a favor to do this also. We certainly have. Uh, um, these guys have been amazing. For both Sandy and I and NFC Gamer TV, and we'll continue to support them as much as they support us because they are awesome. So if you're able to do anything there, but I think more importantly, or easier, awesome, Climbing Moon, you're amazing, dude.
Thank you.
The stars, right? Yeah. I guess I never knew that. That's why I hadn't starred you guys. I'm sorry. Thank you for
Oh
showing
no,
me.
I think you already did. You did. You star
What
already.
what did I start? Yeah, but
Yeah,
I do I need to select that or no? It was good.
you don't have to at all. Yeah, the list is for
Cool.
you actually.
Awesome. All right. I'm gonna run this. Let's see, we got 26 contestants in there, 44 looks like ish on stream. If you're not in, get in. Um, go to crittercraft.io. Um, actually, no, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is hit exclamation play. Why am I telling you to go somewhere? You just need to hit exclamation play. It'll add you to that list. And yeah, boom, there we go. Boom, boom. If you don't have a Wax wallet, just put something. I'll find you. Twitter handle, Discord handle,
Yeah, it
something.
seems that game, the creator game is made using some Unity game or something. I think they
The
made it
user,
in
if I'm
Unity.
not mistaken, so the developer, guys, is. I was hoping he'd be here. I don't think he is. He might be creeping, lingering. I believe he did. He built it with Construct
Construct.
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was that explained the so the reason why I think so was because some kind of native framework. I
Mhm.
think is because the scroll bar, that scroll bar
Yeah.
uh seems like something that he just leave it there. He didn't really bother to customize it.
Yeah. Um, that's interesting that you notice little things like that. You're talking about this here, right?
Yeah, the scroll bar. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that I've styled these before. Which you know what? That's a great question. I've been meaning to ask you. Who does the front end for you guys? I remember I was all insulting about back end devs when we we last met, and I'm like, damn, I don't know who did the front. I just assumed y'all both did everything, but that might not be accurate.
So the key design, kind
Mhm.
of the design system that we have at the moment was somewhat in. So we hired a contractor back in March actually,
Okay.
and we worked with them for
Yeah, shout
about
out to shout out to Marcus,
yeah
19-year-old kid from Germany, absolutely incredible designer. Like really helped us out with the initial kind of mock-ups.
Yep, yep. So we worked with him for about I would say 3 weeks to hash out like kind of the basic design system, and then we took it and we kind of play with, and we also improve it with some of our technical process. Like
Yeah, yeah,
we learn more about design system, we learn more about color system. Like Stefan learned about the system called Radix, right? Radix, the color system,
So
and
cool. So
Radix is a color scale that work on both light and dark tone.
Redis database you're talking about, right?
No, Radix. So
No,
Radix, yeah, Radix color scheme.
gotcha.
yeah, it's really
Yeah,
cool because they kind of, I don't know, I guess they did some sort of math, and you can name a color like green 3, and then and then you can have a color blue 7, and if you use all these colors together, they will work together on light mode and dark mode as well. So you don't have to like worry about
Oh
the
my
colors.
goodness.
I think they so is I think they use the
What's
they
the
use the
name?
scale, right?
What's the name of this again? I need to find
R
it.
Radix.
A D RADIX. Radix
So
color.
I've seen this. I probably need to
Radix
Radix
color.
colors.
Radix
No,
here.
I would look for
That's
Radix color actually.
that's the kind of UI library they have, and then they have a color scheme also associated with that UI library, and that's what we use.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Radix
and they
color.
use a scale. So they use a scale from they use the hue scale. So with the hue scale, when you switch from light to dark mode, you simply invert the color, and that's what they
Right.
did.
So I know there was some trickery that's done because I've seen tools out there that do a really good job. And I know it's math and it has to do with like the either the RGB values or the HSL or whatever. And there's some formula that works that makes it so that you can apply that same formula across any color and it'll do like roughly the same thing to each one, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's what they're doing here, but very interested in it's something that does this and it does it in mass because I I'm doing it the dumb way. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
even
I would say that. So I
yeah.
would say it's not dumb. It's just I would say that a lot of people, for example, before I know about radix or any cap color system, right? You would likely just think about you just experimenting, right? You just
Yeah,
try
like
out stuff.
I would go to like here and
Precisely.
I would mess around here, but then like once, but if I needed to, it's funny because like I need, you know, when you click on like an Illustrator, if you double click on like the color square, it'll bring up, it'll give you like the plot, like the graph where like the colors plotted. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Hmm.
And I need to be able to see that to, if I'm trying to compare two colors and like I need to know, okay, am I going left or am I going
Yeah.
down? If that makes sense.
So
It's
I
kind
think
of
that
fun.
those two, so a lot of these two, right? Well, actually, if you talk to a designer who went through a design course, they would know they would know in their head, right? In
Yeah,
on
yeah,
like
yeah.
on their hand, what these mean, right? The
Right, right.
three key number, hue. I don't remember them, but it's like there's a hue and
There's
there's
hue,
like
saturation, and
yeah
Yeah, like
saturation.
light.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the key component of color, right? So a lot of it is applied to really about applied color theory, I would say.
Yeah,
And
I took an entire course in college about it. It was really fun. It turns out I perceive color like a 65-year-old man. Which is really young.
yeah,
Interesting.
um,
but
and the cool thing is like there's all these color spaces, right? Like RGB is one of them, and there's like all these other ones. There's
Yeah.
one lab which is really cool, and that one's 3D, and then you can actually like move around, and it feels better. So you can check that one out too. Yeah, it's really awesome.
yeah,
Cool,
but I would
cool.
say that the reason why a lot of people would be stuck with the experimentation process of color is because they don't have it's really about learning more about color theory, and I guess go do more painting. I would recommend go do more painting.
Yeah, it's interesting that if you look across the like the major tech companies, blue is super common. I think it's for a reason. I don't remember what the reason, but you know, like Facebook, Twitter, Dell. Let's go down the list. Like blue, super prompt. Google, blue, and then there's just some colors that you don't see really at all. You don't see a whole lot of reds, although there are some. Color theory super interesting. I've read a little bit of it.
Yeah,
Um,
The thing that surprised me about colors was emojis. So when you open up emoji picker and you type blue, there's only 4 or 5 emojis that are blue. But if you find like if you type green, there's over 30 green emojis. Um, just like
interesting.
that's another interesting one. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, blue equals trust, psychology, and yeah, Samsung Blue also. All right, if you're not in, that sucks. I'm sorry. Here we go. So yeah, doesn't this remind you of your game, Louis? Like at least
it
a little
does.
bit.
It does. Yeah, it's
Then
so
the
yeah.
blade comes
Remind me.
through, and so they can. Yeah, I'm sitting in a blue room. Trust me. Um, it's a good observation. Lee's coming.
So you have to basically survive, right? I assume.
Yeah. So they can type so these commands across the top: charge, spin, resize, turn, moon, and dodge. They all do various things, as you can see. The grubfish aren't all acting the same. They're all kind of doing different things. There is a delay. It's more pronounced for them than it is for me, um, which kind of sucks. But that's just Twitch latency. There's nothing really you can do about that. So it gives them a little bit of ability to. Oh shit! I better grub explode here.
Oh, that hot. Oh, Hot Rod Piper is there.
Yeah, I'm still
I know.
alive. Damn it! I'm gonna win this. I think. Nope. There I go.
I think Hot Rod Piper is gonna win. Yeah, because he's in a very good position.
Yeah, dude. Shout out Hot Rod Piper. Boom.
Nice.
Yeah, hit me up in Discord. I got to send you over a form for a mailing address, and we will get that mailed out to you. And then we'll do this dance off here. So there's no interactivity on this one. It's just kind of like just another round of the top 24, and they just come through and get wiped out. We played the shit out of this game, man. The Grubfish, playing it for a long time. Y'all may ever make any Twitch or Discord or any other type extensions or bots, or do you have any experience in those areas?
Well, one of the first products that we built was this thing where you can create like memes for your like community, or if you're on a team, you can create memes about like your coworkers or something, and then you can like type in slash macro and then the meme name. So we made that early on, just for ourselves.
That's super awesome. What up, Mama Moving? Very nice. You probably know this. I forgot to put the first round of names in there, but that's okay because they're all also right here, and we know how. So we'll get that straightened out. Yeah, dude. All right, so I have a kind of open-ended question for you both. So obviously, y'all know about FTX and what happened, and um, it came at a really bad time, I think. First, I guess my first question is: did you have any exposure to FTX that you're willing to talk about, and if so, like, how bad was it? How good was it? Or how are you dealing with it?
For me, the exposure was not financial, but rather like, I don't know what the right word is. Basically, I was big into like effective altruism, and then SBF was the primary donor for that, and also for like AI alignment, like making sure the AI doesn't kill us. Like, a lot of those people were like friends of mine that
Mm.
basically now like they're thinking like, okay, maybe I won't be able to get grants in the future. So like it honestly, this is such a huge thing that happened that it goes even beyond crypto, which is kind of insane. But that's kind of my exposure. Lewis, do you have any exposure?
Yeah, no, I got out of crypto a long time ago. Uh,
What?
yeah, so 2017 was my experimentation time when I was making a bunch of money, market making bot with crypto and playing around with it. And then by the time when I realized that, the thing is that I would love for the blockchain technology. I care more about the technology, not really the financial aspect of it.
Same.
Yeah,
Like,
and during the early day of experimentation, I found that it's gonna take a while until it actually become a like one of the thing back then was I really want to have a full dev kit inside my phone, right? So actually I was running a Tor node from my phone,
mhm.
and I was serving because I was running a Tor node and I relaying through my university Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I would be one of the main exit nodes for the tour from my school and serving about I remember I have a screenshot of this somewhere in one of our private chat, and that I would be serving about 5 terabyte of like
Damn.
of exit data, which
Yeah,
is
because
insane.
our university had one, free electricity, and two, a gigabit internet speed, both upload and download. So Lewis was able to help the Tor network a lot.
Yeah, hopefully nobody doing something illegal on there. But no, I mean, I'm into like this decentralization kind of movement of software actually, and also the idea of, for example, if the world's ending tomorrow, right? I would prefer if I'm self-reliant, like and I can use
Yeah, man.
software, and
Yeah.
I would love if tomorrow the world's ending, I can still solve problem using software. Right now we are
Yeah.
relying on too many things in which I would say that
Yeah.
if someone drop a nuke on AWS like
Right.
warehouse or some of the power grid that cut you off from Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud, for example, you would be stuck. You would be self-reliant. You would not be self-reliant, right? Yeah. So precisely, home lab,
Yeah, it's
right?
so
Home
funny
lab
that you say
or
that.
farm.
You said market maker, which I was like, oh, you should talk to Alpaca. And then you said the stuff about that. Like he literally just sent me a DM like about an hour or two ago of exactly what you just said and what's on the screen there. Like, man, how ironic is that? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. By the way, by the Android, right? Android you can use Termux. Termux is a terminal emulator for Android. You can do a lot of stuff on that.
I
And
remember
so
back when we were in college, Lewis would be on the treadmill coding with Vim on his Android phone.
yeah, it's NVim by the way, not Vim.
Ah,
But yeah, no, NVim is really good because it has a lot. So it's basically Vim, but with a bunch of plugin you can add onto it, right? So you can add COC, you can add a bunch of like VS Code language
yeah, yeah, yeah.
services. So you have all the features you need to actually work on like kind of even backend and front end project too. Yeah, yeah. You don't even need to root your device. Yeah, you only need to root your device if you want to kind of back up your images and
Yeah.
store your data on external drive. But otherwise, you're good to go. Yeah. So it's really awesome. You can run Next.js by the way inside. You can run Next.js inside a
Yeah.
Next.js server and also a MongoDB server and a Redis server inside your Android phone
What?
using Termux, right? So you have full stack inside your Termux. Yeah, and also, and here's the thing: if you want to be truly self-reliant and rely, and you can also consume Tors. So
Mhm.
you can also have a relay node with Tor node, and then set up an Onion server
Yeah.
inside Termux, and now you have a service that running on an Onion cab route, an Onion cab
Right, right, right.
address that you mint. Yeah, when you host something on the Tor network, you kind of have to mint your you have to mint your address. By the way, you have to mint address by generating a private key and hosting a public key. But once you mint that and announcing your kind of your key, right, then you can actually visit your server from anywhere in the world. It's really nice. So I actually would use that a lot of time to actually to use 5G to have a temporary kind of a SSS server to my phone to have an emergency backup. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Last call for Grubfish. We got to wrap this up. We are well over an hour. Sorry for keeping you guys. I don't know if you have somewhere to be, but if so, my apologies.
Oh, no worries, all good.
Oh, it was fun.
And
Definitely.
Yeah, it
cool.
was really fun, and cool to see Crittercraft too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. I got to get in there. I'm going to stop for 1 second so that I can just switch screens here and I can appropriately explode this time. So there's a little feature that Gaz added in where you can self emulate or explode and you'll take out, take out everybody around you. There's no other way to explain it than a bomb vest, I guess. I don't know. But it's lots of fun.
Mm.
It makes the game go quicker, and who doesn't like that? Next question or last question that I had for you guys. So you're talking about like you were just mentioning, running all this cool stuff in in a self-order Android device. and that kind of reminded me of how we talked about WASM and the things that you could do with that in a browser. And back kind of on the FTX topic, what do you think is going to be the major step forward for Web3? Like, is it going to be a technology? Is it going to be um, a infrastructure or coding language or something that we don't know? What do you think is going to be like the next or evolution or the next big step in Web3 that's going to get us to where we're supposed to be at? Does that make sense? Did I ask that question right?
Yeah, I
So
think
yes,
yeah,
Stefan, go ahead. You can go ahead. I have a
yeah,
thought.
just like a thought in general is like there are so many people. I think the really cool part about Web3 is that it really kind of revitalized a lot of young people because because when I graduated college, for example, it's like, okay, well, Google was already built, right? Facebook's
Right.
already built. What else is there for me to build? And now we have this thing where it's like you can literally rebuild all these things in Web3 and then unlock so many interesting like properties that you wouldn't get in a normal kind of like Web2 context. And that kind of mentality is so powerful, not just in terms of like what can be built on Web3, but also just to completely revitalize like a lot of people's thoughts on like, wow, I can actually build really cool stuff, and this unlocks so many new ways to do stuff. It's really really powerful. So that's kind of my take on it, and it's really incredible to see all the different things that people are working on. And with one of my favorite projects was like the Constitution DAO, where they tried to buy the U.S. Constitution and they set up a DAO and they raised like a lot of money.
Will
Um, and
they
so
get it?
that
I don't think they got it.
They did
they
not.
they unfortunately didn't get it, but I think like the spirit was there, and I think that spirit is so powerful. The spirit of building, the spirit of like we can do this. I think it's really awesome. So that's kind of my view on it.
Yeah,
Louis, what do you have?
so I had the exact same feeling, the same thought right, in terms of like how Web3 or the movement so far, right, has spearheaded this whole innovation kind of.
Right.
The thing is that what's happening right now, and we're seeing right now, right, is when actual financial ruin comes to play, and that actually is ruining it for everyone, in my opinion, right now. If
Yeah,
you look at
man. It's
look,
maddening.
so let's look at Google. Let's look at how Google, Facebook, and Amazon was built. What was the infrastructure of Amazon, Google, and Facebook? Right,
Right.
they were mostly free. Well, GPS was free for Google Map, prime for innovation. But
Right.
using its GPS was free. So now all they have to worry about is building the product, building out the
Right. Right.
software,
Right.
building the hardware to actually supporting their use cases. But the infrastructure, GPS infrastructure by itself, free, completely developed by the government, right? The U.S. government. So sadly,
Right.
you have to basically, I guess, fund a DoD, man, or tell NASA to hey deploy more satellites so people can hack on it. I guess, or allow people to hack more onto, like, tap into the infrastructure that's been deployed by the government, in my opinion. Same with, so let's talk about power grid, right? The power grid that the US has deployed for the citizen, right, and for all the company
It's
out
running
there
on
has
Windows
been,
XP. That's the
yeah,
first. That's the
precisely.
first problem that we have.
It's running on a very old. I mean, but that show how resilient it is, right? It's very resilient. It's still operating, and essentially the power to store a storage unit of, to for 1 GB almost free. That's how Google Drive can give you 15
Right.
gig for free, right? And
Right.
so
Right.
now they
Right.
can get adoption, and people could just get 15 gig for free and just sign up for Google services. Google Gmail also, right? You
Right. Right.
have you have free mail storage and free mail server for free. And then, right, when they have the mode of being free for the basic use case, then they can scale to enterprise, serving enterprise cases.
Right. Right. Right.
uh you can also looking at the internet, right? Imagine if someone charged for the internet, but no, internet was free.
Well, they did. We used to get those AOL discs that gave us like an
Precisely,
hour.
right? It used to be the case, but then the internet become more open because more other
Right.
country,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Globalization, other
Yeah.
country adopting it.
Yeah.
And I would
That's a
say
good
that
take.
until the infrastructure become
Yeah.
totally free through either donation, I'm saying that has to become from an effort. So what we had so far was the U.S. government, right? The U.S. government spending for the GPS project cost about $2 billion. Okay,
Hey,
$2 billion. Internet, I'm not sure how much it costs, but let's assume it costs about maybe $5 or $10 billion, right?
Mhm.
And let's talk about the power grid. How much was the power grid set up back then? I don't know, maybe 10, 20 billion, maybe more for
Right,
maintenance,
right,
right?
right, right.
But
Yeah,
look at the ROI, the return on investment on that is immense, right?
right,
Like
right, right.
Google is right now with a $200 billion project, so the ROI alone is about 2x
Yeah,
or
right,
3x on the
right,
infrastructure
right, right.
side. Amazon is what? How much is Amazon now market cap? And same with Apple, right? Apple market cap.
Yeah, I think they got to a trillion. I remember
Yeah,
seeing the
Apple
trillion
right now
word
is 2 trillion,
there.
right?
It's
Something like that.
disgusting.
I'm saying until
Yeah,
the infrastructure is completely free, and that's the thing. People have to sacrifice for it and make it free. This and instead of giving money to this kind of Ponzi scheme FTX, right, or some kind of easy money
right,
easy
right, right, right,
kind
right.
of scheme, unless people will invest into, like, I would say Filecoin and IPFS is one kind of good baseline, but
Right,
it's
right,
still not
right.
free. It's still not completely free. We're talking about completely free infrastructure, backed by the people, right?
Right,
Such that people can build and profit.
right,
Then
right, right.
you can then easily contribute back after you are profitable. But
Right, 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 right.
at the beginning, if there's a barrier, if there's a bar to entry for the user though, like I don't think the internet or GPS or even email would be as widely adoptable as we see it today if it wasn't free.
Excellent. Thank you so much, man. All right, Stefan, anything for our audience before we let them go? Um, I kind of was dropping your links there. I should have been more prepared. I apologize, but we'll probably circle back for like a give lab or something soon. I'm not sure what socials you guys want to pump, if any. I know I've been very particular about where I've been using those types of things, so we'll just talk offline. But anything for our audience?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, and Didi, thanks for having us here.
Yeah, dude, always.
The big thing for us is like, if you want to build a browser, we want more browser extensions out there. And if you are looking to build a browser extension, like build one. There are so many different use
Let's go.
cases. Like, if you're always using this tool and it's always super annoying to do like these 5 different actions all the time, build a browser extension, get it automated. And if you want to
Yes.
do it the best way, use Plasmo. We have all the links there. Our Discord is very active.
Yeah.
We talk on there all the time. You can just hang out, and we sometimes have like co-working as well. So if you just want to chill out and like work, you can do that. And then our Twitter is also there on the chat. There we sometimes post Chrome extension memes, which is a very, very niche of a niche. But if you're looking for some memes, or if you want to see more like stuff we're up to, you can definitely follow us on Twitter as well.
Yeah, follow on Twitter, follow on Twitch, star on GitHub. Louis, anything for our audience before we let them go?
I think we're good to go. Actually, yeah, everything is there.
Cool.
Okay, we actually have. If you go to plasma.com/, I think social. So
What is it?
plasma.com/social. Plasma.com
Social.
slash
Gotcha.
social. It has all the link for you.
You guys made your own link tree. Look at you
Yeah, yeah.
go.
We like to build everything ourselves. We
I
actually
know,
have.
dude. That's baller. I might steal this.
Yeah, feel free to.
Hey, I got one more question. It'll be a quick one because it's just a one word answer. Gentlemen, tabs or spaces?
So I used to be a spaces guy. Now I have been converted to tabs because of
So,
accessibility.
so I
Okay.
would say that.
That's a good reason.
So for me, I don't care, to be honest. Yeah, my editor do it for me. So I leave it to editor. But for me, but in terms of my typing, right? I use
Mhm.
tab because tab. If otherwise, what are you gonna use tab for? What are you gonna use it for? It's a keyboard,
Exactly.
right? And it get turned into full space or two space anyway on my editor, so it doesn't really matter for me. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
the
also
big
love
thing
tabs.
for the accessibility stuff is like a lot of people, sometimes if you're using like a screen reader,
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
tab is just one character versus like 4 or 6. And then the
Right.
other thing, like if you want to, maybe you need to have like more width, or you're like, I don't know, maybe you have some issue where like indentation is hard to like capture. You can make your tabs width higher. So like to
Oh,
you
right,
it
right,
looks,
right, right.
but then we can do it with spaces. So that's like, I always used to be a spaces guy, to be honest, always. But then when I saw this argument, I was like, okay, actually, now that I think about it, yeah, like that makes sense. So that's why I'm a
Yeah.
tabs.
I would say that you can. So the idea of having a tab character, right? I would say it's good for word processor. In terms of coding, I don't
Yeah.
think it mattered much. Also, especially if you're coding on Android, for example, right? And your keyboard is very crowded, right? You're not gonna have a tab, so you have to
Right,
use
right,
space.
right.
Yeah. So it's
Right,
really
right, right.
depend on what kind of keyboard you have. Like if I use a Dvorak keyboard,
Yeah.
I mean there's the tab there, but I'm saying like depend on what you have. Yeah.
I
I
don't
was
know if
And
you
actually like back in the
so
day I was
when
also
yeah,
working on a
oh sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So back in the day, I was working on actually a custom Android keyboard so that I can do gesture typing for. It's a hacker keyboard for gesture typing actually,
huh?
because I was huge into gesture on like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
back in the day. I have a Linux distro, and every single program and terminal command is a gesture with my mouse. Actually, I used to do that. And so
Nice.
if you want to you want to unlock my laptop, you have to use a gesture.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Stefan,
But
sorry,
I
guys.
soon realized it's the fat. I soon realized that you can control F1 right to a TTI and kind of mess up my shell anyway. So there's
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So just to wrap up this thing about tabs. So I remember now. Basically, there are blind programmers that code using like refreshable braille displays, and then
Ah,
when you have spaces, it wastes a lot of their braille. So if
Mm,
you have just one tab, it's much better for them. So that was
yeah.
actually an accessibility thing, yeah.
Boom.
But
All right. Well,
and the
there we
person
have it.
that talked about this was actually the guy that made Svelte. He
Oh, really?
popularized it. Yeah, so
Damn.
yeah,
yeah. Some people
that
really
kind of
research
helped.
into
I
this.
thought it was gonna be, and it's all good because I love these conversations. But yeah, I'm like, I thought that would just be a short answer. I'm sorry for keeping you longer, you guys. Hey, thank you so much. We'll talk in the Discord. Let me know what I can do to help out. You guys have helped me out so much. I'd love to continue to reciprocate, and I'll enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving. Thank you, everybody, for watching.
So
All
thanks.
right.
Take care.
Thanks. Take care.
Cool.